Time for the Wells Report front page. News over the weekend, and while we were sleeping, let's get started. A special counsel was named on Friday. It is David Weiss. This from the Wall Street Journal. Attorney General Merrick Garland, Friday, named the Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss as a special counsel to continue his prosecution of Hunter Biden after plea bargain talks broke down, opening a new politically fraught chapter in the long-running legal drama as his father, President Biden, campaigns for re-election. The appointment, which allows Weiss to prosecute Hunter Biden in any district he deems appropriate, rather than solely in Delaware, came the same day that Weiss said in a court filing that plea talks with Biden were at an impasse, and prosecutors expected the case against him to go to trial. Weiss asked a federal judge in Delaware to dismiss a previously filed tax case against Hunter Biden, saying prosecutors needed to try the case elsewhere, including in California, where Biden lived during the years at issue in the case. Garland said Weiss had told him on Tuesday that the investigation, that's Tuesday of last week, had reached a stage at which he could continue his work as a special counsel and asked to be so appointed. Garland, who had previously insisted Weiss had all the necessary resources and autonomy, said the move reaffirmed that Mr. Weiss has the authority he needs to conduct a thorough investigation and continue to take steps he deems appropriate independently based on only the facts and the law. This was very interesting. Again, this happened at the end of last week. The Democrat-led House committee that investigated the January 6th, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol failed to properly archive records, including documents, video of depositions, and correspondence with the Biden administration, said a Republican lawmaker probing the panel's work. This being reported by the Washington Times. Representative Barry Loudermilk, chair of the GOP's investigation into the House January 6th Select Committee, wrote in a series of letters obtained by the Washington Times that the previous panel did not follow the law or House rules in preserving and turning over all of the data and documents related to the panel's investigation by the end of the congressional term last December. In a letter to Representative Benny G. Thompson, the former chair of the January 6th panel, Mr. Loudermilk said that all the committee chairs have a responsibility to archive non-current records at the end of a Congress. The fact that we've discovered a number of missing documents and videos from Representative Benny Thompson's investigation into January 6th begs the question, what else is the former chairman hiding? We are going to follow the facts, leave no stone unturned, said Mr. Loudermilk. He is a Georgia Republican, speaking to the Washington Times. USA Today is reporting that Georgia prosecutors investigating former President Donald Trump for his efforts to overturn his loss in the Peach State did indeed find evidence connecting Trump's allies with a 2021 voting system breach. This according to multiple reports. The prosecutors have text messages and emails that directly tie Trump's allies to the voting system breach, suggesting the breach was a direct top-down push from Trump's campaign and his attempts to overturn the 2020 election. This reported by CNN through USA Today. The evidence contradicts the possibility the breach was conducted by local supporters of the former president, unaffiliated with top officials. Quote, just landed back in D.C. with the mayor, huge things starting to come together, read one text message on January 1, 2021, obtained by CNN, appearing to reference former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, Trump's former personal attorney. Most immediately, we were just granted access by written invitation to Coffee County, Georgia's voting systems. Yay. The written invitation originated from Misty Hampton, a former Coffee County elections official. Hampton falsely claimed that the county's voting machines could swap ballots in favor of another candidate, according to The Guardian. In state news today, Hawaii continues to recoil from a major natural disaster, or at least it appears to be. This from USA Today. The death toll from a historic fire that roared through the Maui community of Lahaina rose to 26. That happened over the weekend as teams with cadaver dogs picked through the devastation, marking the remnants of homes with bright orange X's to signify they had been searched, and HR to announce where human remains would be found. A police roadblock kept residents out of Lahaina, largely destroyed by the deadliest U.S. wildfire in more than a century. More than 1,800 homes and structures were leveled, hundreds of people still missing. Maui Police Chief John Pelletier warned the search for the dead was far from over. The death toll will probably rise. More than 1,600 people are being housed in shelters, possibly thousands needing places to stay. This from Governor Josh Green, and state agencies were coordinating with Maui County, the Red Cross, the Federal Emergency Management Agency to move survivors into hotel rooms and vacation rentals, adding, quote, help is pouring in both locally and around the world as our hearts are with the people of Maui. Out of Oregon today in state news, Andy Ngo has lost his civil lawsuit against Antifa. Portland Mercury reports this. A Portland jury ruled against right-wing media figure Andy Ngo. That happened Tuesday last week in a lawsuit seeking damages from anti-fascist activists for two separate attacks. After nearly a week of hearing testimony from witnesses, watching video footage, and hearing from defendants, jurors concluded there wasn't enough evidence to fault Antifa for the attacks. Ngo is a prominent right-wing social media personality and editor-at-large for the Canadian-based Post-Millennial website. He filed a civil complaint in 2020 seeking damages from Portland activists for their alleged role in two separate assaults of Ngo that ultimately aimed to suppress his media coverage. The complaint was later amended to include additional claims and plaintiffs. Out of California, a flash mob hit a Los Angeles area Nordstrom, $100,000 worth of merchandise taken. California police said a mob of criminals stole up to $100,000 worth of items from a Los Angeles mall on Saturday afternoon. USA Today reports a group of people entered the Westfield Topanga shopping center in Los Angeles around 4 p.m., stole between $60,000 to $100,000 worth of merchandise from a Nordstrom. This, according to the Los Angeles Police Department in a statement. To criminals, it is property taken, said the police. Those who live in the area and patronize Topanga Mall is at a loss of feeling safe. Video footage posted by police shows several people wearing black masks and clothing running out of the store with merchandise, including duffel bags, purses, other bags in their hands. Also in California, this from the LA Times, one day after California green-lighted a massive expansion of driverless robo-taxis in San Francisco, the implications of that decision became clear. At about 11 p.m. on Friday night, as many as 10 Cruise driverless taxis blocked two narrow streets in the center of the city's lively North Beach bar and restaurant district. All traffic came to a standstill on Vallejo Street and around two corners on Grant. Human-driven cars stuck behind and in between the robo-taxis, which might have been boulders. No one knew how to move them. The cars sat motionless with parking lights flashing for 15 minutes, then apparently woke up and moved on, according to witnesses. Aaron Peskin, who represents North Beach and the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, fears what could happen when a major fire or other life-threatening emergency breaks out with multiple robo-taxis blocking the way. Our houses in North Beach are made of sticks, he said. Peskin was flooded with texts, emails, and videos from constituents as the robo-taxis, programmed with artificial intelligence software, sat unresponsive. In one video, zeroing in on a robo-taxi's driver's seat, a man is heard to say, quote, "This is what our country has come to." And the robo-taxis, as I said, after about 15 minutes, began to move away. This from ABC News. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has signed a law banning firearms advertising that officials determine produce a public safety threat or appeals to children, militants, or others who might use the later weapons or weapons used illegally. This opening the door for lawsuits against firearms manufacturers or distributors. Pritzker on Saturday signed the Firearms Industry Responsibility Act, making Illinois the 8th state to approve legislation that rolls back legal protections for firearm manufacturers and distributors. The legislation comes after the deadliest 6 months of mass killings recorded in the United States since at least 2006. All but one involved guns. Pritzker signed the bill alongside lawmakers and gun control advocates at Gun Sense University, an annual training conference of more than 2,000. Moms Demand Action and Students Demand Action volunteers and survivors. This hosted by Every Town for Gun Safety. To 2024 election news, a Democrat representative has asked President Biden to pass the torch. This out of Fox News. Representative Dean Phillips, the Democrat from Minnesota, said anybody who wants to run to challenge President Joe Biden for the 2024 Democrat primary nomination should, quote, take the chance, unquote. Phillips, speaking on NBC's Meet the Press, said he adores Biden but wants him to pass the torch to new leaders. Quote, I would like to see a moderate governor, hopefully from the heartland, one of the 4 states Democrats will need, he said. He continued, anybody who wants to run, Joe Manchin, Cornel West, that's why we have primaries, because that doesn't undermine the likelihood of returning, in this case, a Democrat to the White House. Media news this morning, CNN, following in the footsteps of Fox News, revising their programming lineup. They are battling sagging ratings, this from DNYUZ. Monday, today, unveiled a dramatic remaking of their morning and evening programming. Abby Phillip, a senior political correspondent and anchor of Inside Politics Sunday, will be the new anchor of the network's 10 p.m. hour on weekdays. Laura Coates, an anchor and chief analyst at CNN, will anchor the network's 11 p.m. hour. CNN's morning show, which until recently was hosted by Ms. Collins, Don Lemon, and Poppy Harlow, is also getting a makeover. The show will be co-hosted by Ms. Harlow and Phil Mattingly, CNN's chief White House correspondent. Early Start, a program earlier in the morning, will be anchored by Casey Hunt, CNN's chief national affairs analyst. Ms. Hunt was previously the anchor of Way Too Early, a morning show on MSNBC. Much of CNN's afternoon programming will remain the same. Pam Brown, the network's chief investigative correspondent, will anchor the network's 3 p.m. hour. The changes come as CNN is trying to improve diversity of its on-air talent. While CNN is adding 2 black journalists to its evening lineup, Ms. Phillips and Ms. Coates, the absence of Don Lemon in the morning means the network's flagship morning program will be without a journalist of color. But the network is promoting journalists of color elsewhere, making Victor Blackwell the anchor of its 8 a.m. hour on Saturday and promoting Manu Raju to anchor Inside Politics. And so the media ball begins to turn yet again as people try to find an audience heading up toward the 2024 election. That is the front page.